where my friend and colleague from Michigan was left off, and I appreciate his comments about being careful and making distinctions between the CCP and the people of China. I think it was an excellent point, and I appreciate the sentiments, the very decent sentiments of my friend. I do want to just, though, point out that moral clarity is required in this discussion, and sharp criticism of the CCP is not racist. It is about policy, and it is about foreign policy. And I think clarity is really important. And so, Ms. Shriver, yesterday during the meeting in Alaska, the Chinese delegation attempted to paint the United States as hypocritical for our directly raising a number of international concerns regarding the CCP. And while I know the United States has gone through a very rough year and we have our own issues, I did want to ask a series of questions that may highlight the differences, the moral differences between the United States and China. Is the United States currently participating in an ethnic cleansing of its own population in state-run internment camps? Yes or no?
No.
Is the United States currently stealing intellectual property from companies doing business here and then giving that technology to our military? Yes or no?
Certainly not federal government sponsored.
Is the United States jailing those speaking out in favor of democracy and human rights? Yes or no?
No.
No, and thank you. And I want to highlight these differences for when we're talking about our way forward in the Indo-Pacific. We must be clear to our partners and allies, and this must be a moral clarity of who China is and what behavior they engage in, and the moral superiority, frankly, of the Western approach and the approach of an open, free, and democratic society versus a closed communist police state that is the CCP. And I do not believe that is racist rhetoric. That is a rhetoric about the challenges that we confront, and it's about being clear-eyed. Let me ask Mr. Haas a question about emerging technologies, 5G, 6G, and protecting American technology. The U.S. China Economic Security Review Commission is a great resource for the Congress and for policymakers. And in speaking to some of these just outstanding experts on our complicated relationship with China, it's been said that we need to be putting higher walls around fewer things, and especially when it comes to protecting American technology in the face of decoupling. How can Congress partner with industry in the United States and in allied and partner countries to protect necessary critical technologies?
That's exactly right, by the way, Congressman. We higher walls around fewer things, scalpel, not sledgehammer. I think we ought to, the first thing is to identify what those technologies are. What are the things most likely to be drivers and make a difference in the commercial economy, in the intelligence business, in the military? And those are the ones we have to think about funding, not just domestically. But one of the things Congress could also is facilitate joint projects with the partners and allies that we spent so much time talking about in the course of this hearing.
Let me quickly talk about Belt and Road and countering Belt and Road, follow up on Mr. Burchett's line of questioning to any of our witnesses. How can we more effectively use the Development Finance Corporation and the Export-Import Bank in countering Belt and Road?
Sir, I think this is a very important tool that is available to the U.S. I wouldn't believe necessarily that what the Americans have to offer is necessarily what the developing world wants, because those loans and grants come with political conditionalities that many of those countries don't want to accept in terms of transparency, rule of law, etc. And this is where the Chinese way of doing things, the Chinese government's way of doing things is a challenge, because they do not offer any political conditionality to those countries in terms of democratization or anything else. So this is really the crux of the matter, because there are two offers there that are very different, and providing an alternative is very important. At the same time, I think there's other ways, in addition to money and funding, that can be helpful, like skills and some sort of expertise in demonstrating that perhaps Chinese projects are not going to be sustainable in the long run. I think this is also an efficient way of coping with BRI.
Thank you, Dr. Barr. But obviously, my time has expired. I hope someone on the panel will ask about Taiwan accession to the United Nations as a deterrent to PRC aggression. And I obviously can't ask that question now, but I invite someone else to, and I yield back.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Barr. Let me now recognize